It is September the 26th, 2018. Welcome to the midweek report of Third Down. I'm your host, T-Wayne the Nine. We'll talk a little bit about the Thursday night matchup on tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about the Jimmy Butler situation. I think today we're going to start off possibly with Anthony Davis signing the Clutch Sports as his agency now. What that means for the Pels and how that's going to affect the Pels going forward a little bit. Don't really have too much about the Saints. I know they put Patrick Robinson on IR this past, I think yesterday or Monday, I believe. But I think it was yesterday. I know they've been looking at some other corners. I know they re-signed Brandon Tate to take the load a little bit off at special team with Tommy Lee Lewis being out. So Brandon Tate probably going to have a role in a return role in special teams. I wouldn't be surprised if they even throw him in a little bit to help out on the offensive end at receiver as well. If you got him, you might as well use him, right? So on that note, let's go in and let's talk about AD and Clutch Sports. Now, I'm not too. First thing first, congratulations to the man. The man got him another agency. He probably gonna get more money out the deal. These people probably on the top in the business when you think about who they have, aka LeBron James. And what this means for the state of the franchise for the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, he came out on Media Day and said that he wants to stay in New Orleans, which is perfectly fine. But like my friend told me last night, I don't believe everything. Because when you make moves like this, I think for sure you're setting yourself up to be successful in the next 5 years of your career. So how successful right now are the New Orleans Pelicans? Or we could talk about last season. They did go to the second round. They swept the Portland Trail Blazers. They did win a game against the Golden State Warriors in the second round. And if you ask me if they made a few more better plays and made a few more better decisions, they could have won 2 games in that series if they were playing at a better pace. As sometimes they played stagnant. They couldn't mix and match shots with the Golden State Warriors when you think about last season. But if you ask now, let's think about where they at off the strength of last season to where they at right now. New Orleans is actually in a decent place. To me, they took a step back, but they didn't take a step back at the same time. What I mean by that is that you add Julius Randle, you add Elfrid Payton. Julius Randle and Elfrid Payton came take the spots of DeMarcus Cousins and Rajon Rondo. To me, the biggest wild card of all this, because when you think about Randle, Elfrid Payton are for sure top 10 picks in the draft. They went in the top 10 in the NBA draft. Then the wild card of all this, if this can really work, would probably be Jahlil Okafor. And once again, another top 10. I think he was a top 5 pick in the NBA draft coming out of Duke. So the Pels actually hitting on quality picks when it come down to guys who was high draft pick guys. Julius Randle was the best player on the Lakers last year. I think he averaged about something. I don't have the numbers in front of me. About 17 points a game. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. I'll go back and give you the real stats later on. Probably the best player on the Lakers last year. Jahlil Okafor, I think the sky is the limit if his attitude get better and if he really have a great work ethic. And Elfrid Payton still got a lot to work on, but I think once again the sky is still the limit in his young career. Mixing this all up with Anthony Davis, who's the man, I think this could potentially be a good situation, but you have to work on it now. See, to me, to really make sure AD stays with New Orleans is probably banking on what they're going to do next offseason when it comes down to free agency. Who can they attract? Now, if you ask me if he really wants to bring more people here, maybe I think he'll show a discount, almost like a hometown discount, to take a step back to get somebody in, maybe like a Kyrie Irving. Maybe like a Klay Thompson. Now, I'm not saying they're Klay Thompson. I know I'm just naming people who's out there right now that's going to be out there next year. Maybe like a Kawhi Leonard. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. But I think in order to make this work, I think this team that they have right now going to have to show something to the league to make him almost potentially think, well, maybe I should take a pay cut to try to get one more person here, and we could really make a run. I think this team is talented enough to make a run, but there's so many obstacles you got to face out there in the Western Conference. When you got LeBron out there with the Lakers, you still got the champs in the Golden State Warriors, you still got Portland, you still have Houston, You have all these other mix and match pieces over there in the Western Conference. Young teams starting to get better. I think in about 3 years, we're going to start talking heavy about the Phoenix Suns. I think about next year, I think if Dallas can keep some more pieces and add a few more pieces next season, Dallas is going to be in the mix of things again. San Antonio is still kind of like a question mark, but we never going to disrespect the greatness of Greg Popovich. So they still going to be. There's a lot of obstacles that's hungry to win a Western Conference title out there in the Western Conference to get to the NBA Finals. To a degree, almost to say what the Warriors have makes you wonder how much more the Warriors can keep doing this to a degree. Because I think people going to start taking their shots at you. It's just going to happen. They're going to take shots at you eventually. So, what's the next move? So, I think this season really going to dictate what his career going to be. I think this is a dictating career season for Anthony Davis. Even how much that team has proven last season by sweeping the team who's like 0-10 in the playoffs in the last couple of seasons, and also competing with the world champions. You saw how close you are from being on that level. You lost a little bit, but you gained a little bit back. Actually, you lost a lot, and you gained a little bit back. I think Julius Randle is an unproven talent. And I think if he can prove his talent now, playing alongside with a true great all-pro big man, we got a lot to be happy about. Jrue Holiday showed his greatness in the playoffs last year. Hello, somebody. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen in these next couple of weeks. When training camp about to start. And I know they got a game Sunday against the Chicago Bulls. I want to pay a little attention to that going forward with the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm interested to see what are they going to do and what they're going to bring to the table going forward to keep Anthony Davis happy in the situation that he's in right now. So, let's move on. Let's talk about Jimmy Butler. Now, Jimmy Butler, the situation, I told you on Monday I was going to hit on this a little bit. Now, Jimmy, not satisfied with Minnesota, but something just not right to me when you think about the Minnesota Timberwolves, going all the way back. They even had some articles that he didn't fly back home with them boys. I think after Game 5, going back to Houston. I mean, they got a lot of things that's starting to come out. Couldn't get along with Wiggins, couldn't get along with Towns, couldn't get along with none of them cats. I don't know what's going on in Minnesota, but seems like when you have a perennial big man, when you think about Kevin Garnett, you think about Karl Anthony Towns, even when you think about Kevin Love, who was a walking double-double for the Minnesota Timberwolves, seems like Minnesota cannot keep their big guys, not so much keep their big guys, but keep the core pieces around their big guys happy. Now, even though Jimmy Butler is more of a proven perennial all-star player who has a lot of star potential in his league, he has proved it to a lot of people already. He's one of the great players in the game right now. Now, if he goes, I don't see him. I know there were some teams that were interested. Let's say, prime example, let's just say the Clippers was one. I don't see, unless the Clippers offer a lot for future reasons. To me, I think the Clippers shouldn't be a team that should be going in for Jimmy Butler, knowing that they don't have, to me, nothing to really compete with out there in the Western Conference. And I don't think Jimmy Butler would be the right piece to start over again to bring this franchise back to Lob City for him. It's just when I'm not saying I don't think they ever will be Lob City again, but those were some good days for that franchise. I don't think Jimmy Butler the player that you want to start off with, if you ask me. I don't think he's the one. I don't think so. I don't think he's the one. I think that franchise got some soul searching to do. I think they got some things to look into to see what's up with it. I think they just have a long ways to go. Yeah. Just don't see. Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry. Let's talk about maybe, the Miami Heat. Now, If he goes back out to the Eastern Conference, where would you rank him as one of the best players in the league? When you got Kawhi Leonard, you got Kyrie Irving, you have John Wall, you have Giannis out there. And if you could take Jimmy out the Western Conference, you could put him in the East. Where would you rank him from there? Will he be one of the best in the? I mean, definitely for sure, top 5 in the Eastern Conference. Right now in the West, I mean, he's maybe have a crack at the top 10. But I mean, what Jimmy Butler could bring to your franchise. Let's say he goes to the Miami Heat. I think Miami would be the best place for him to be because I think Pat Riley will find a system to put around him for the long run. I think he would turn into probably the next best thing in the city of Miami, for sure. I think they will put the right pieces around Jimmy Butler and give him a solid basketball team for the future. Like I said, when you compare him to the Clippers, I think that looks a lot better on paper. It depends on how can they make the deal happen to get him to come to the Miami Heat. Then if you think about the New York Knicks, I think if you're going to trade, you have to give some young pieces and probably some young picks up to get them. Will the Knicks be willing to do that? Well, I think right now the Knicks are in a good spot because they have a lot of young talent to build upon with. And then I still think they're probably a few draft picks away from being a perennial top 8 NBA team in the Eastern Conference. The Brooklyn Nets, I don't think there's nothing there you can really do for them in Brooklyn. So I just read that Phoenix could be a team that they would just be interested in them. I want to see them go back out east. At least that will take a little power off the Western Conference because I don't disrespect Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is an all-star player in this league. He's proven himself over the years. He really can play at a high level when he needs to play at a high level. I just think that Jimmy Butler needs to go back to the Eastern Conference. If he do become a Miami Heat, trust the process out there with with Pat Riley, and trust that he's going to put the right pieces around you in the next couple of seasons to give you a chance to fight for a world title. Because when you think about the Eastern Conference, the best thing I think out there is right now is between the Celtics and the 76ers. Who's going to come in that third spot and really try to compete with the Celtics and the 76ers? You can't really say Toronto because I don't really believe in Toronto like that, but I think they are okay. Even with Kawhi Leonard out there, I don't know what Toronto going to do. All this got to mess with each other. You can look at the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks. Do we really see the Bucks really coming over as a true contender in the NBA? I mean, in the Eastern Conference. To me, they can't shoot enough jump shots and be consistent with it. So the Bucks. I mean, until the Bucks really get more better offensively, then we could talk about the Bucks. But if the Heat get Jimmy Butler and really start building around him and adding some more key talent players around them, Miami going to have a shot to be back in control of the Eastern Conference and competing with the Celtics, competing with the 76ers, if you ask me. So this is one thing I think I'm going to keep paying attention to. We're going to get more and more updated about what Jimmy Butler's going to do in his career right now going forward. It seems like he's done with Minnesota. He don't have nothing to do with Tom Thibodeau and Karl Anthony Towns at all. So let's go ahead. Let's go just get this out the way. Let's preview tomorrow night's game. There will be a football game tomorrow night. It will be the not Baltimore Ravens. I'm thinking about Sunday night. It will be the Minnesota Vikings and the LA Rams, two teams that came in before the season started to be Super Bowl contenders, very, very Super Bowl contenders. Now, right now, one team looking like a contender, the other team looking like a pretender. Yes, I'm talking about the LA Rams. It's very, very, I watched them week 1 against the Oakland Raiders. They fought well in that game. They stayed mentally tough. This team do look like a contender right now, but compared to the pretender in the Minnesota Vikings, who only defeated the San Francisco 49ers to start the year off, they tied with Green Bay week 2, and they got stunned at home by the Buffalo Bills, who did. And let me throw this stat up in here: Buffalo was not predicted to win any games this year. by Vegas. They was all underdogs all year long. They go on the road, and for the longest, from 3.5 quarters, it was 27-0 until until Minnesota finally scored.